The rain had not stopped for 3 days, drumming softly against the hospital windows where Emma sat hunched over her paperwork. Her white nurse's uniform looked even plainer under the harsh fluorescent lights, and her tired brown eyes betrayed the long double shifts she had been working. Emma wasn't born into wealth, and life had only become harder since her mother's illness left her with medical bills stacked like towers. Yet she never complained. She worked, she endured, and she carried herself with quiet strength. That evening, just as she was about to leave, her phone buzzed. It was her best friend, Lily. Lily's voice was frantic, almost guilty. "Emma, I need a huge favor. Please, I can't make it to this blind date tonight. I don't want to leave the guy sitting there, and I know it's crazy, but, can you go instead?" Just for one evening. Emma laughed at first. "Me, Lily, you know I don't have time for. Please, I'll owe you forever." Lily's tone softened. "He's a businessman, some CEO type. Probably boring, probably not even your type. Just keep him company, have dinner, and that's it. Please." Against her better judgment, Emma found herself agreeing. Maybe it was because she couldn't say no to her best friend. Maybe it was because, for once, she was curious about what it would feel like to sit across from a stranger in a fancy restaurant instead of in the sterile break room of a hospital. When she arrived at the upscale restaurant, she felt completely out of place. Her dress was simple, borrowed from Lily, and her shoes pinched slightly. The chandeliers glowed with golden light, casting a warm ambiance that only made her feel more like an imposter. She almost turned around and fled, until she saw him. At a corner table sat a man in a tailored suit, his posture confident yet weary. He had an air of power about him, the kind that came with years of responsibility. His dark hair was neatly styled, and his sharp jawline softened only when he looked up and their eyes met. For a moment, Emma forgot to breathe. "Lily?" he asked, standing to pull out her chair. His voice was deep, steady, yet there was something behind it, loneliness, perhaps. Emma hesitated. She could have corrected him, explained the truth, but something in his expression stopped her. He looked like a man who had been waiting not just tonight, but for a long time. And so, with a small nod, she sat down. His name was Alexander Cole, though the world knew him as the CEO of one of the largest tech companies in the city. He carried himself with composure, but Emma noticed the shadows under his eyes, the way his gaze drifted when he thought no one was watching. Conversation came easier than she expected. He asked about her work, and though she carefully avoided revealing too much, she spoke passionately about caring for people. He listened. Really listened, as if every word mattered. Halfway through dinner, a smile tugged at his lips. "You're different," he said softly. "Most people I meet talk about money, deals, or themselves. But you talk about people, about kindness. It's refreshing." Emma felt her cheeks warm. She wasn't used to compliments, especially not from a man like him. Yet there was sincerity in his voice that disarmed her. The evening passed too quickly. When they parted outside the restaurant, the night air was cool and fragrant with rain. Alexander hesitated as if he wanted to say more but instead offered her a ride home. She declined politely and hurried away, her heart pounding, wondering how she had just shared a meal with a man completely out of her world. She thought it would end there. A one-night favor for a friend. But Alexander called the next day. And the day after that. At first, Emma ignored the calls, reminding herself that it was Lily he thought he had met. But fate has a way of pushing two hearts together. Eventually, she answered. What surprised her most was not his persistence, but his gentleness. He wasn't the arrogant tycoon she had expected. He was a father, a single father, raising a little boy named Ethan. And when he spoke of Ethan, his whole demeanor softened. Emma could hear the love in every word, and it melted something inside her. Their meetings became frequent. Sometimes they went for walks in the park, sometimes they just talked over coffee. With every moment, the walls Emma had built around her heart began to crumble. She told herself it was impossible. He was a CEO, a man of wealth and influence, while she was just a nurse drowning in bills. Yet Alexander never seemed to care about the differences. To him, Emma wasn't defined by what she owned but by who she was. The first time she met Ethan, she was nervous. But the boy, with his mop of dark hair and bright curious eyes, took her hand as if he had known her forever. "Are you going to be my new friend?" he asked innocently, making both adults laugh. It was in that moment Emma realized she wasn't just falling for Alexander, she was falling for Ethan too. The little boy filled a space in her heart she hadn't known was empty. Still, guilt gnawed at her. She had never told Alexander the truth, that she wasn't Lily, that she had replaced her friend that first night. Every time she tried, his eyes would light up at the sight of her, his words would wrap around her like a blanket, and her courage would falter. But the truth has a way of surfacing. One evening, as they walked along the riverbank, Alexander turned to her, his expression unusually serious. "Emma, I know you're not Lily." Her breath caught. You knew. "I suspected from the second night," he admitted with a faint smile. "Lily canceled on me weeks ago. But you showed up, and I didn't care who you were, because the moment I sat across from you, I knew I'd found someone rare. Someone I couldn't let go." Tears welled in Emma's eyes. All the fear, the guilt, the worry, it melted away under his steady gaze. "Why me?" she whispered. I'm not like you. I'm not rich, I'm not." He silenced her with a gentle touch, his hand warm against her cheek. "You're everything I've been searching for. Money, power, status, none of it matters when I come home to silence. You brought life back into my world. You gave Ethan laughter again. That's worth more than anything." Emma leaned into his touch, her heart aching with a mixture of love and disbelief. For the first time in years, she allowed herself to hope. But love is never without trials. The more time Emma spent with Alexander, the more the world began to notice. Paparazzi photos, gossip articles, whispers of gold digger and nurse chasing a billionaire began to spread. Emma tried to ignore it, but the weight of judgment pressed on her shoulders. At the hospital, colleagues teased her, some cruelly, others out of envy. Patients whispered when she passed by. One evening, overwhelmed, she told Alexander she wasn't sure she could continue. "I don't belong in your world," she said, her voice breaking. "People look at me and think I'm after your money. I don't want Ethan to grow up hearing lies about me." Alexander's jaw tightened, his usual calm replaced by determination. "Then let them talk. They don't know you. I do. Ethan does. And that's all that matters. I've built companies, fought battles in boardrooms, but none of it compares to fighting for you. I won't let gossip steal what we've found." His conviction gave her strength. Slowly, she learned to let go of the noise, to focus on the quiet moments, the way Ethan hugged her goodnight, the way Alexander's hand always found hers in a crowd, the way laughter replaced loneliness in their lives. Months turned into a year. Emma's life transformed, not in wealth or status, but in love. She was no longer the nurse who worked endless shifts just to survive. She was a partner, a mother figure, a woman who had found a place where she truly belonged. On a crisp autumn evening, Alexander surprised her with a simple dinner at home. After Ethan had gone to bed, Alexander led Emma out to the garden, where fairy lights twinkled among the trees. He held her hands, his eyes reflecting both vulnerability and certainty. "Emma, you came into my life when I least expected it. You weren't the woman I was supposed to meet, but you became the woman I can't imagine living without. You've given Ethan a mother's love and me a reason to believe in happiness again. Will you marry us? Not just me, but both of us, me and Ethan." Tears streamed down her cheeks as she nodded, unable to find words. When he slipped the ring onto her finger, she realized that sometimes, the most unexpected detours lead to the most beautiful destinations. From that night onward, Emma never doubted again. She had replaced her friend on a blind date, but she had found a family, a love stronger than anything she had ever dreamed of. And true to his word, Alexander never let her go again.